Go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we will call to order this April 13th, 2021 meeting of Lawrence County Board of Commissioners. Would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief moment of silence. Director Parrish, would you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And all please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel? Here. Commissioner Vogel?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here. I will know we are being live streamed. It's being sent out to YouTube right now for public consumption. This is the second week now that members of the public have had access to the building and by nature access to these meetings. And we're glad to see the meeting room is filling up, albeit masked. And hopefully that requirement will go away as more people get the vaccine. But I will note that any member of the public wishing to make public comment who is still unsure about coming into meetings can still submit public comment to mboyd@lawrencecountypa.gov. It will be treated as such. That's if you're uncomfortable coming into one of these meetings. Otherwise, we are being recorded internally for our purposes and compiling the minutes. And we would ask that anyone who has business before the board, staff members, members of the public, they approach that table there and you can speak into that microphone just so it picks it up for our use in compiling those minutes. Row officer reports and comments. Looking out at the audience today, I'm not seeing any row officers or representatives of row officers. Public comment. Is there any member of the public in the audience today or a member of staff or a fellow commissioner who wishes to make public comment? Seeing none, again, if you're watching via live stream and wish to submit a comment, you may do so by submitting that comment to mboyd@lawrencecountypa.gov. Please include the subject line public comment so I know what to do with it. Fiscal and contractual. We have no advertising for bids and proposals, no receipt of bids and proposals, no fiscal reports, no report on quotes, and no warrant registers,
I
which
was wondering, right,
means we're not spending money.
but we're not paying bills anymore, is that?
I'm okay with that.
Confusing?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
We do have minutes from our Tuesday, April 6th meeting. I'll give my colleagues a minute to check those over. I'm just happy we haven't paid any bills. Take a motion to approve the meeting minutes or amendment, if you so choose.
I will move that they be accepted.
We have a motion. We have a second. Second. We have a motion second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Proclamation of written communications. We have two here. First is an Act 14 notification that Richard and Erica Chalella, I hope I got that pronunciation right.
Yes, you did.
Have applied to the Department of Environmental Protection for a new national pollutant discharge elimination system, individual permit to discharge sewage effluent from small flow treatment facilities, and a new water quality management permit located in Neshannock Township. And then the second, so we'll have a third on that. Oh, we do have a third on the back. Second is Act 14, 67, 68, and 127 notification, PennDOT's planning a maintenance project along State Route 2001, Savannah Road to replace existing structure that carries a UNT. I don't know what that is.
Unnamed tributary.
There we go.
Oh,
Got me on a good day today.
It's a big run, and that's in Shenango Township. And an Act 14 notification for Cedar Acres Cunningham MHP Incorporated for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit to discharge sewage effluent from Minute sewage facilities in Scott Township. Any member of the public who wishes to see this correspondence is welcome to it at the conclusion of the meeting. But otherwise, I'm not going to go through the process of reading those letters. Do we have a motion to accept and file correspondence?
so moved.
Second. We have a motion to second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Next on the docket today, we have two proclamations and certificates for this week. The first is designating the week of April 11th through the 17th, 2021. I believe that's this week. as 911 Telecommuters Appreciation Week. I know we have Director Jeff Parrish with us today, as well as our telecommunicator supervisors from the LEOC. Thank you guys all for coming to the meeting today. When we think of first responders, the first thing that naturally comes to mind, I think, is police officers, firefighters, and EMTs. But I think one of the areas that's so frequently missed and that's just as crucial to the whole system are our telecommunicators and our 911 operators. Without you guys, the police aren't getting to the scene. The fire department's not getting to the fire, and the EMS workers aren't getting to the guy that's having a heart attack. And I know, I know I do, as do my colleagues, and as does everybody in Lawrence County. We certainly appreciate your service to the community. And are, speaking for, again, I think myself and my colleagues, more than happy to designate this week in Lawrence County as 911 Telecommunicators Appreciation Week. But that being said, I'll turn it over to my colleagues before turning it over to Director Parrish.
Sure. My background as a police officer, back in the olden days, before the 911 systems, before LEOC, before we had a separate organization, with the Newcastle Police Department, we did room dispatching. And I can say that I sat in that seat as a dispatcher. And it is a seat that is the beginning of anything in any type of situation that begins. And it is a seat that is very, very important because you dictate at that point in time how that response is going to go. So I humbly say to you, thank you for everything that you do, and please express that to everyone that is there. Jeff, from you at the very top to the newest part-time 911 operator is the unsung heroes of any system that there is, of any emergency operations system, is and underappreciated. What you deal with on a day-to-day basis, the irate person, the person in need, the person having that emergency. When an emergency happens, 25 calls coming in at the same time about that same emergency, whether it be, trees down, car accident, fire, anything like that. I can't say it enough. I could go on and on because what you do is certainly vital to the safety of every person residing in Lawrence County. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's very hard for me to top what my two colleagues have said. They've both spoken very eloquently. So I'll just say that I concur with all of the comments that they just made, and then add a couple quick observations. We've noted in the past that in county government, there are only two of our departments that never stop working. They work around the clock, 24 hours, every day of the year, holidays, every day of the year. One of those being our jail, and the other one being our 911 center. And I'm sure each and every one of you have worked shifts, maybe still do, and you know what that's like. You're on the front line, and as Commissioner Boyd said, before a police officer or an ambulance or a fire department responds, it's initiated where you folks sit. And that was one of the major reasons that the prior Board of Commissioners took the steps to move forward with the construction of our public safety building in Hickory Township. And one of the major factors in our decision was that of all the offices in our structure here at county government, all of our offices touch people in one way or another. We have a voter's office over here that deals with people who register to vote, but not everybody votes. We have a veterans office, does a great job helping veterans. Not everybody's a veteran. However, your role has the potential to impact or deal with every last resident in this county, because an emergency can affect every last resident in this county, from a newborn baby to someone in their very senior years. So please know how much we do appreciate the work that you do day in and day out. Again, I rambled more than I expected to, but I do concur with my colleagues and their comments that they made. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Jeff, we'll turn it over to you.
Gee, thanks.
Absolutely.
I'm not asking for money today. Wasn't on the agenda for money, so, yeah. We're gonna throw that out there.
I looked through, I didn't see
I
it.
know, I shocked you, huh?
He was in the office
Exactly.
like 10, 20 minutes ago. I said, oh, what are we spending money on today? And he said,
I took him off the floor after I said nothing today. Anyhow, thank you, everybody. And I know I speak for everybody that's behind me. We have our supervisors. These are all the supervisors of the shifts that we run with the 4 shifts. And Rich Hoover is our deputy director, the 911 coordinator, in charge of everybody up there. So I know this is a national week that the Celebrated started back in the 80s, I believe it was. Just taken over. But this whole week we have a lot of stuff, different things planned for them. We appreciate everybody's support. We appreciate the commissioners doing this resolution or proclamation for them. I know we've never done one in the past, and it was something that we thought about. Like, wait a minute, we would like to do it because we know, people don't really understand what their job is, what they deal with on a daily basis. Again, they're sort of some heroes. I know there are people that get excited, get worked up, and get upset different times over some of the questions they're asking and how long it's taking. But everybody behind me, as well as everybody that's working, they do a great job. It's not me, believe me, it's not me at all. I'm just the one that sits in the corner offices and complains and yells at them every once in a while, but also tell them they do a good job, when they do, and they do, on a day-to-day basis. It's not a job that everybody can do, it really is. And you can see sometimes by the higher requests that come and go through there on our training, there's a lot of training and a lot of stuff that they have to go through on a personal level, listening to calls. So it is nice that we can celebrate them for at least a week out of the year on what they do. So we have different things that we do throughout the week. They eat quite well. I think they put a lot of weight on in the week because a lot of the businesses throughout the county have been gracious enough to donate food and for lunches and dinners and breakfasts and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes up there as well with that. So, but again, we appreciate the proclamation, and we appreciate them putting on a record that I appreciate what everybody does up there. They do a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
That being said, I'll read the proclamation, and then I'll take a motion to approve 911 Telecommunicators Appreciation Week for this week. So the proclamation reads, in recognition of 911 Telecommunicators National Appreciation Week, whereas Lawrence County 911 Dispatch Center plays a vital role in the protection of human life and property in our community, and whereas Lawrence County 911 has been successfully serving the public safety communication needs of the County of Lawrence, and whereas while enduring long hours at normal schedules and handling frequent life and death emergencies, Lawrence County 911 telecommunicators set high standards in performing their duties in a dedicated, diligent, and compassionate manner. And whereas Lawrence County 911 telecommunicators provide a critical communication link between the residents and police, fire, and EMS providers. And whereas these individuals proficiently coordinate emergency services to ensure the health and safety of our residents, visitors, and travelers in our communities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas our 911 telecommunicators personnel serve the public daily in countless ways without due recognition by the beneficiaries of their services. Now, therefore, we, Lawrence County Commissioners, Morgan Boyd, Dan Vogler, and Loretta Spielvogel for the County of Lawrence, State of Pennsylvania, do hereby declare the week of April 11th through April 17th as in the County of Lawrence, and commends the devotion, contributions, and services of the 911 telecommunicators. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and seal to be affixed this 13th day of April, AD. I love Fran's touch there, the AD. 2021, Board of Commissioners, Morgan Boyd, Daniel J. Vogler, and Loretta Spielvogel. But I'll take a motion to approve the proclamation designating the week of April 11th through 17th as 911 telecommunicators appreciation week.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, guys. And you're welcome
Thank
to
you.
stick around for what I am sure will be a invigorating government board meeting. or if you're gonna take off to.
We're on the clock. I'm
Other
gonna-
endeavors.
I do have, we have something going on up there, so we gotta get back to it.
Thank you guys very much, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we have a second proclamation designating, I believe April, or it was April or May? April,
April.
as, I love this one, 811 Safe Digging Month. We get this request, I believe, annually. Dan, who do we get this request from? Do you know?
Is it a state agency that, PA1 call perhaps? But I think it does come from somebody at the state level.
Yes, the website is here,
PA1 call.
pa1call.org for information about digging safely, so I would say maybe that's.
I would assume so, and I would assume that a number of our other fellow boards of commissioners are probably doing the same thing we're doing.
Yeah.
Sure.
But anyway, we're proclaiming, or potentially proclaiming Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month in the month of April. I don't have as much to say about this as I do to telecommunicators. But I'll turn it over to Mike.
Dig safely.
Dig safely, Dan.
That's
you got it?
about it. Dig
right.
safely.
All right, we'll read the proclamation, and then just take a vote. Whereas month of April 2021 recognizes Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month, and the initiative sponsored by Pennsylvania 811, a utility notification information symbol celebrating its 49th year of continuous service to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And whereas Pennsylvania 811 received close to 992,000 excavation notices in 2020, and transmitted approximately 6.6 million notifications to their member facility owners and operators, allowing essential utility construction crews to provide vital underground services and repair critical infrastructure to communities throughout Pennsylvania. And whereas when dialing 811, at least 3 business days before digging, a homeowner or a contractor is connected to a unique service that notifies the appropriate underground utility operators in the municipality in the work which will be provided. And whereas by notifying 811 of their intent to dig, the homeowner or contractor is knowingly helping to protect the underground utilities, themselves, the work crew, and their neighbors from any unsafe digging practices within their community. And whereas upon receiving notification from Pennsylvania 811, the facility owners and operators disperse to the said work site to mark the approximate location of their underground utility lines with flags, paint, or both to establish an 18-inch tolerance zone of the outside wall of the edge of their line or facility, and now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County in support of Pennsylvania Underground Utility Line Protection Law as amended. We do hereby proclaim April 2021 as Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month and encourage all Pennsylvanians to visit the Pennsylvania 811 website at pa1call.org for information about digging safely. Office of the Commissioners, Morgan Boyd, Daniel Bogle, and Grass Field. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. April is safety.
Safety. We say that like we joke, but of course, we want everybody to be safe in any type of situation.
It's just hard for me to get through.
So,
A little bit. What was the line? Intent to dig.
intent to dig,
That's one hell of a line.
intent to dig. Okay.
Up next, we do have staff reports. The agenda notes done, but I know we do have a presentation from our friends at the Sustainable Energy Fund and our assessment office. So, JR, I'll turn the floor over to you, and then we'll turn the floor over to, I believe, Mr. Costello. Is that how I pronounce your name?
Yes.
We'll turn the floor over to you to talk a little bit about CPACE and what I imagine will be approved by the Board of Commissioners as another development opportunity, another ability to get capital financing for projects here over the next couple of weeks. So, JR.
Thank you. And before I turn it over to Mr. Croswell, I'm going to give a little update history on the CPACE program. Actually, in November 2019, the prior Board of Commissioners entered Lawrence County into an agreement to adopt the CPACE program. Due to the pandemic and some legal issues with the way the legislation was and how taxes lien could be collected, it has prolonged this process. The next step would be the county entering into an agreement, a cooperative agreement with the Sustainable Energy Fund to go ahead and manage this program. But because the two of you were not involved in the adoption of this program, I've asked John from the Sustainable Energy Fund to come here and explain a little bit about this program again to each and every one of you and also the public. So if everyone is in agreement, I will be back at a future meeting to go ahead upon the review from our county solicitor to enter the county into an agreement with the Sustainable Energy Fund to manage this program. So without any further, I'll go ahead and turn it over to John, who can go ahead and update you about the program. I believe there are some packets of material I gave to the three of you. And John, you have a few extras, correct?
Yes.
And if anyone else would like to see, he does have some extras about the program.
John, thank you for driving out today.
Yes.
We really appreciate. Where are you based out of?
Pocono Mountain.
Oh, no kidding.
wow.
So that was one hell of a, did you make the trip this morning or did you stay overnight somewhere?
I stay overnight.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
It didn't look like that.
And we thank you. We thank you.
Well, yeah, in that case, even more thank you for coming out today. Greatly appreciate it. But I'll turn the floor over to you to talk to us about specifically, and I speaking for myself, I'm not as, I imagine, up to speed as some other individuals in this room would be. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about the program.
Great. I'll start by giving you a little primer on who SEF is, the Sustainable Energy Fund. We were created during electric deregulation by a settlement through the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission. When we appoint a new member of the board, they ratify that appointment to the member of the board. We are regulated by the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission. They review our audits. We testify in front of them. I'm an expert witness for them on issues of energy efficiency, renewable energy, and energy conservation. So just kind of and we do all kinds of programs. We do financial programs for the past 21 years. We do educational programs, and we do regulatory programs. We just don't get involved with the legislation.
Yeah. So can you explain a little bit about specifically what CPACE does, the opportunity that it provides developers in our community, and how this program is going to benefit Lawrence County?
Yes. I'll skip a couple slides here on how CPACE was formed through the Pennsylvania Senate. I'm on the side that says fundamentals of CPACE. It was established by the state government. It's set up by the local government. It's generally managed by a third party, like the Sustainable Energy Fund. And what happens is that the capital provider, in other words, it's private capital, the capital provider or a contractor, like an electrical contractor, will go out and find a job. And the customer will say, gee whiz, I can't pay for that, or I can't pay for all of that. Or perhaps it's new construction or a gut rehab, some type of revitalization, and they need to work on their capital stack. And they normally engage in mezzanine financing. Well, CPACE is less expensive for a longer term to substitute for a portion of that mezzanine financing. So it helps get the project done.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the Sustainable Energy Fund sends an assessment advisement. It's not an assessment in the way that we think of assessments in Pennsylvania as far as determining the value of property. When the legislature talks about assessments in Act 34 or Act 30 rather, they talk about it and it's a special payment. So so I'll use the word special payment so we don't get off the rails. But Sustainable Energy Fund advises the tax collector, the treasurer, or the assessor's office of the special payment, depending on how the county's structured. It's put out at the same time as the normal tax payments. Most places put it out as a separate bill.
Mm-hmm.
Some counties have the tax software that can accommodate putting it as a line item on the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's collected by the county at the same time as normal taxes. It's transferred to a paying agent, and then we give instructions to the paying agent to pay the capital provider. And that's kind of the loop of funds that goes around.
So, just to, not to interrupt you, I just want to dumb this down a little bit, just because.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I understand pretty much what you're saying. I just want to make sure that everybody might be, all our 3 viewers out on the live stream. And when this is reported in the news tomorrow, that sort of everybody is able to understand what, basically, whenever a developer goes out and borrows money for a property, they're usually able to get up to 80% of whatever they're going out to get, and the other 20% needs to be covered by equity, correct?
Correct.
That's generally where if a developer does not have that 20% equity, they have to go out and get what's called mezzanine finance, mezz finance, which is usually at higher interest rates, right?
Correct.
This allows for a portion of that capital stack to be acquired at a low, in other words, a portion of that 20% piece to be acquired at a lower interest rate than if they were to go out under a normal market structure, right?
Correct.
And then the way this is structured at the county level is the repayment is based, it's put amortized out over a period of, what would be 20 years?
20 years, 22 and a half years, 25 years. It's based on what measures, what energy efficiency, renewable energy, or water efficiency measures they do,
Mhm.
and the cost of those measures and the life of those measures. There's a formula
Mhm.
that tells them how long they can collect for.
Gotcha. And, but that's put effectively on to our tax notices, which then we collect on behalf of the individual issuing the loan, and then remit to that company, right? And then the other question I would have for you there, and again, the whole purpose of this is for that mezzanine, that gap financing. It gets it to them at a lower interest rate because they're going and investing in sustainable energy. And Pennsylvania has a vested interest in subsidizing that effectively. Correct, is that
Well,
correct?
it's actually the private capital providers are the ones that are delivering the lower interest
Oh,
rates.
no kidding.
There's no subsidy by the state. There's no cost to the county.
Mhm. So what's the, let me ask you this, what's the incentive for those private capital providers to provide a lower interest rate as opposed to traditional mezz finance?
Because it's ahead of the senior lien on the property. It's just behind property taxes,
Mhm.
but it's ahead of the senior loan, although there has to be a lender consent in order to do it.
Mhm.
It's ahead of that senior loan. If the customer defaults, it's over an extended period of time, the county can foreclose, go through a sheriff's sale on the property. And that creates a more secure method of lending than the traditional foreclosure.
Gotcha.
Another provision that makes it very attractive is that it doesn't accelerate.
Mhm.
So a typical bank mortgage, if a customer defaults and they owe $1 million on the property, that $1 million becomes due today. With CPACE, only the current payment becomes due. The future payments don't become due till the future.
Mhm.
And the payments transferred with the land. So if a property developer goes in, develops a property and owns it for 3 years, but puts solar panels on the roof with a 25-year life,
Mhm.
the new property owner is picking up the payment for the rest of the life of those solar panels.
So in other words, traditionally, if I were to go, let's say I went and bought a building, right? And if I sold that building, that debt still transfers with me. If under this, if I received a portion of the financing of that building through CPACE, that portion of debt would not stay with me. That portion of debt transfers to whoever the new property owner is when I go to sell that property.
Correct.
Okay. No, I mean, that pretty much makes sense to me. At first, it took me a while when we first sat down with JR. This program confused the hell out of me. I sat down, I looked into it a little bit. Now it makes even more sense from a financing perspective. But do you have anything else to add about the program?
To give you an idea on how the adoption's going in Pennsylvania, including Philadelphia County, there's 16 counties that have adopted CPACE. It now covers more than 50% of the state's population. It's 15 counties, and as I'm speaking, the 10th county is going active. So And the other counties are fairly new, and we're going through the guideline process and the statement of levy and lien to bring those counties active. So just to give you an idea of how it's moving throughout Pennsylvania. And I would say over the course of this year, based on conversations our staff has had with different counties, I'm expecting another 5 to 6 counties to adopt CPACE this year. Don't know if a county like Bradford County will adopt it, but the major counties, Erie County, Northampton County,
Lawrence County.
Lehigh County, Lawrence County, Allegheny County, Philadelphia County, Delaware County, Montgomery County. In fact, Montgomery County gave us our first transaction last year. They went live in September, and they had their first transaction in December. It was for a gut rehab / new construction on a historic firehouse combined with a hotel. And that was for $10 million to a blighted property. Northampton County has one that we're just waiting on the closing date. We're waiting on the title company. That's $3.7 million, and that's a gut rehab. So some of these transactions are small. If it's just an energy efficiency improvement, it may only be $250,000. But some of these transactions go into the tens of millions of dollars when they get into rehabbing an urban area or putting up new construction.
And just to confirm, these are specific to the funding from these loans has to be used for energy efficiency purposes.
Yes.
So weatherization, lighting, all of that type of
It
work.
encourages them to go deeper.
Mhm.
So they have to beat code or beat the energy conservation measure by 25% code by 10% on a gut rehab.
Mhm.
So they'll put more insulation in the building. They'll put better windows. If they're dealing with the roof, they may choose to insulate the roof underneath the membrane. Instead of using traditional HVAC equipment, they may use a mini split or a VRF system, something more technically complicated that has a much higher energy efficiency. They may add renewable energy. A lot of them address water efficiency, so they're putting in low flow toilets, low flow faucets. They're taking water off the roof and catching it in some type of basin, and then using that as gray water in the building for flushing the toilets. So just a whole variety of activities that they do throughout Pennsylvania, and there's 34 other states in the country that do this.
And just based on what you said earlier, it sounds like that I'm assuming the more you do in terms of energy efficiency, in terms of environmental efficiency, even stretching it to a more broad definition, is that amortization, or is that term of loan extended and you get maybe more favorable interest rates or more favorable? Is that effectively?
I don't know how it impacts the interest rate because that's determined by the capital provider. But I can tell you, like, for example, if you're replacing your boiler and converting over from steam heat, hot water heat, which is more efficient, that boiler has a 35 to 50-year life. So that extends the time period that they can pay for these improvements and reduces the cost of the improvement. Whereas LED lighting fixtures, as determined by the Public Utility Commission, have a life of 15 years.
Fascinating.
That's great, more so than you would think. I love the idea of the gray water, the flushing the toilet. That's amazing.
And how many projects do you say are online in Pennsylvania right now?
We did 3 projects last year, and last year, Philadelphia was the first one to open, and they opened over the summer. We're online to do 2 projects in Allegheny County within the next month. Project in Northampton County that's ready to close. So those are 3 projects that are getting ready to close within the next month. I don't know how many projects total there'll be over the course of the year because we haven't had a track history in Pennsylvania. I can tell you nationwide that in 2020, the market broke $2 billion of CPACE transactions.
Wow. So hopefully we'll be able to see some of that come back to Lawrence. And I will, just to reiterate, the county's role in this is effectively as a pass-through agent. In other words, we place the loan onto a tax statement, which then gets sent out to whoever owns the property. That individual then remits that payment to us, and then we remit that payment to the loan provider.
Yeah, there's two other times the county gets involved. One is during the pre-application process. There's a requirement in the statute that the property owner doesn't have any obligations to the local unit of government or to the county.
Mhm.
So we check with the county. Some counties have that as public records. Some counties, it's a phone call and we check and make sure that they're not past due on their property taxes. They're not a year past due on their water bill, sewer, or whatever other obligations they may have with the county. We do the same thing with the contractor that's doing the job. You know, are they a contractor that has 30 open permits that have been open for a year and a half and never been closed? And the county wants to put pressure on them to close that. And then the second time we interact is after we do the final application and the processing. We pass that back to the county and say, this is the project. This is what it looks like. It's a packet about this thick. This is what all the technical details are. Are you comfortable with this project? And when the county says they're comfortable with the project, then we pass it through.
So in other words, we actually have to sign off on the individual
You sign off
projects.
on a statement of levy and lien, yes.
Okay, understood. And the benefit to the county is twofold. One, the hope is that we're incentivizing new development in Lawrence County through new means of financing, which in turn, number one, increases hopefully the total assessment in Lawrence County, which allows us to collect more tax revenue. And then two, we hope we're able to build your community a little bit through that. And then the second big benefit I see to the county is we're able to promote sustainability across the board in our commercial and industrial developments.
Yeah, as Senator Blake put it, I know he's moved on now to Minister Cartwright's office, but as Senator Blake put it, it's kind of an equal share of economic development and environmental improvements. So it kind of, it's a bill that balances both, and it does it without the government forking over grants and other types of subsidies to get it done.
Absolutely. I will turn it over to my colleagues if they have any questions, comments, or anything else for Mr. Kosla.
I do not. I believe I was here at the meeting where it was first introduced. I wasn't an official, in my official capacity now, but I was here in 2019 when the presentation was made and it was adopted before. So this is more of an explanation, more information, so I'm definitely glad that we are involved. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Koslow, good morning, welcome.
Thank you.
I was on the board that enacted this in 2019, and I'm going to look at JR and have him refresh my memory a little bit. I seem to recall that when we met with the folks about this, did we have either Linda Nitsch or Alex McCoy from Economic Development join us? For some reason, I recall Linda Nitsch being a part of this discussion.
Yeah, the initial discussion, Linda was not involved in. We had Jonathan Bruce from Bruce and Mary
That's right.
that introduced the program.
I've forgotten that. I thank you for reminding me of that.
I believe the three former commissioners met with Linda and Alex maybe separately on an issue because we had a proposed project
Yes.
that got stalled.
My point being that I believe Linda for sure and possibly Alex do have familiarity with this, but might not hurt to remind them of it. And I'm looking at you since you're on the board, if you would be so kind, just to kind of refresh their memories that this is something that when they're meeting with prospects that they can say, hey, this is another thing that we offer that not every county does offer. I seem to recall, and I know you didn't list every county, but why do I seem to recall that Chester County was one of the first that was part of this, or am I mistaken?
No, Chester County was early on. Chester County, their tax assessor and solicitor, the way they're interpreting the statute, They're having an issue with the collection of the statute should a customer default. The solicitors from the other counties that have activated the program have not interpreted it the same way.
I see.
And we've also went out and got a legal opinion from Stevens and Lee to back up the other counties saying that, you know, this is the way that they should interpret it.
Okay, thank you for that background. The only other comment I'll make, and it's more on a personal level, your last name, and Debbie will appreciate this, your last name brings to mind a gentleman who lived here in Lawrence County for many, many years. He has since moved away. He was a bank president, a very fine person. His name was Koslow, K-O-S-L-O-W. Do you remember Bob Koslow? He was president of People's Bank and a real nice man. And when I saw your name, it reminded me of Bob. So thank you again for joining us today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And JR, this has been approved through the solicitor's office, I'm assuming?
The original agreement, Jason is still reviewing the agreement between the county and the sustainable energy. But if you have a minute, Mr. Chairman, a couple other comments I'd like to make, if that's possible.
Yes.
And while you're trading places, is it possible to give these documents to Debbie or, oh, you did, okay, thank you.
I think I will.
Here, I'll give you this one.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you again, and John, thank you for coming in today. One thing I do, it might have been, it wasn't really mentioned in the presentation, this is just for commercial industrial property, not residential at this time. So I know it might have been, people may think, I can't think of the word right now, but yeah, it's just commercial industrial properties.
In other words, I can't use this in my house if I wanted to upgrade.
And even just as a couple small apartment complexes, I think large apartment complexes, I think are eligible to grow large ones.
No, there's no multifamily. There's an amendment in front of the legislature to change that, but obviously, who knows where that's going to go.
Would a mixed use commercial, in other words, you know, let's say there's commercial on the bottom floor and residential on the top.
Yes, if they condoize the top properties to give them a separate parcel ID. So if you have a parcel ID for the commercial property and a parcel ID for the residential property, then the commercial property qualifies.
Gotcha, that's interesting.
And the other thing I want to add, Mr. Chairman, is just to kind of explain again the county's process. Well, you explained it, but the way I've always explained it to people is everyone's familiar with municipalities having something called special assessments, and John was referring to the assessment. Special assessments may be like a municipal sewer tax or a fire department or hydrant tax that not every property owner pays. And this kind of falls in that same realm, but it's being looked at as a county assessment. Not every county commercial property, only those that will qualify or participate in the program will be responsible for it. So like the chairman said, the tax bill will go out and there'll be a separate letter or notice of lien included in the county tax bill. And that county tax bill and that lien will come back to our county treasurer, who will then go ahead and accept the payment. And that payment will go down to the controller, who would then distribute it to, if we assign this agreement, the Sustainable Energy Fund. And it will be their responsibility to then pass it on to the capital provider. The big issue with the delay was the delinquency, as John mentioned. Because the sustainable energy provider will be the one accepting, we will not have to comply with the tax claim law any longer. We would go under the municipal claims law, which was a big concern Chester County had, and maybe our former board and solicitor had as well. But since the Sustainable Energy Fund would be the program manager, they can go ahead and force any delinquency through the municipal claims law, which in other words is a sheriff's sale rather than a tax sale.
Mhm.
So that was the big concern. So the county is no longer, based off this agreement, if we sign with the Sustainable Energy Fund, responsible for any delinquencies.
And so it brings up another interesting, if, let's say because it does go on the tax bill. If an individual, let's say the property taxes for the county are $200 and then this loan accounts for $100, so the total bill is $300. And the individual responsible for paying that bill remits to us $200. In other words, they cover us and we're in first position on that bill. They don't include the $100 for payback to the CPACE program. At that point, that, in this case, the Sustainable Energy Fund would have the ability to foreclose through a sheriff's sale to come and get that funding. The county is not liable at all for that extra $100.
The way the agreement is read, yes, that's correct.
I just wanted to,
If John wants to add anything on that, if I'm misspeaking, but based off the agreement, sustainable energy would be the one.
I would have to review the agreement again. It's been some time since I've read the changes to the agreement. And it's not the other counties, actually, the treasurer's office and through their tax claim bureau enforce it themselves. So it's a little different in some counties.
in our case, we're going more towards a sheriff's sale model.
Correct. They all go towards the sheriff's sale.
Well, may I clarify though, when you say sheriff's sale, my understanding is sheriff's sales deal with mortgages. Are you talking sheriff's sale or a delinquent tax sale?
The way that it's been looked at is through a sheriff's sale, and not a judicial sale.
All right. So sheriff's sale is the proper terminology. Okay. And may I ask another question? For either one of you, you mentioned commercial and industrial building construction. What about in the agricultural community, exclusive of a residence? What kind of farmer, what can someone do in farming as far as this?
Agricultural, nonprofit, agricultural, automated electronic milking stations. They're more efficient. They're more energy efficient than a manual milking station. They could upgrade their milking stations and it would qualify under CPACE.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything further?
That's all I have.
John, anything further from you? Again, thank you so much for
Yes.
taking the time to drive out today. We greatly appreciate it. And I know I'm looking forward to our solicitor's final review of our contract. Hopefully he'll find no issues and we'll be able to add this to both our economic development toolkit and our sustainability toolkit warrants. So thank you both.
Mr. Chairman, do you want John to stick around for the public comments after the meeting, or is he?
You're free to take off if you so wish. We know if you drove out from the Poconos, I'm going to assume you're a pretty busy guy.
I'm actually going to take a meeting from my hotel.
There we go. Well, yeah, I will say that I would expect probably, if it's all right, a call from Debbie for some more information about the program. But we want to get this information out to our residents so that they know, it's something if you said, if a farmer wants to upgrade
Yes.
their milking processes, they know that it's available to them. Or if Bruce and Marilees wants to upgrade their, we want our community to know this moving forward.
And we work with the county economic development departments from each county and provide them with a packet of information. We set up a separate website for each county so people can go on and apply. We use a computerized system so they can apply online. It streamlines it.
That's awesome. Yeah.
There's actually access for the county, so the county can actually go in and see projects as they progress through the stages.
No kidding. So we'll be able to go in and
Great.
all that information. That's more comprehensive than what we do through DCED.
Mr. Chairman, one thing to do when Dan brought it up about Linda and Alex, they did propose a webinar or some type of education about this last June.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, it got canceled. I would anticipate that they would probably try another educational seminar
Mhm.
for the county.
And John, is that something that you or a member of your staff would be available to attend?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. And if you gotta go take off for another meeting, we completely understand.
Absolutely.
And again, I just want to once again reiterate our thanks for coming in to help us get a handle around this program.
Not a problem. We have a normal person that works in Western Pennsylvania. He just had an issue, and he's back home with his family right now in Ohio, but he'll be back in June.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks, JR. Oh, can you give that to Debbie? Thank you.
I would have to look right now.
All right,
Let me
move.
give you my cell phone. 44, 35, 1845.
Moving on to, are there any other staff reports above and beyond what's already on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to commissioner reports and comments. Loretta, you're on deck first today. Floor is yours.
No comments. Okay.
Looks like I'm on deck next. I really don't have any comment. Only thing I'll say is we're still awaiting guidance from the Treasury Department as
Correct,
far as the American
Yes.
Rescue Plan goes.
yes.
Until we receive such guidance, and until we receive official notification of our funding award,
Right,
we have no updates or no action to take on. I know last time we passed a framework for the CARES Act through one of these meetings, but at the time at which we passed that framework, we already knew the categories which we
Right.
could utilize that funding,
Mhm.
for which we could utilize that funding. So hopefully, I know our other counties have already started to publicly put forward their American Rescue Act plans. I don't think we're at that point yet, again, because the Treasury Department hasn't told us what we can and
Right.
can't do with that funding. So hopefully we'll have something more shortly.
And I'll interrupt, I did participate in a Zoom meeting yesterday through Senator Casey's office, indicating that same thing, that until something specific comes from the Treasury, they don't expect much change with anything, but you don't know, and guidelines, of course, do come from there, and anticipating that sometime next month will be verification.
Yeah, I will say, I'm looking forward to working directly
Yes.
with the Treasury Department as opposed to the Department of Community and Economic Development at the state level. Just because if there's one agency that knows how to make a mess out of something that should be simple, it's the Department of Community and Economic Development. And on that note, I'll turn it over to Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be brief, but since our next matter of discussion, our next three matters of discussion involve our liquid fuel allocations, and I made a copy for you, Debbie, if you'd like to have this. I came across, just by coincidence, an article from the Newcastle News in 1939. The headline, allocate $50,000 for townships. Commissioners to distribute part of gas tax fund to townships will be used for road improving. And I won't read the whole thing, but it says here, county commissioners will allocate a share of what they call the gasoline fund, we now call liquid fuels, will be made available to townships. Now, they don't specify boroughs or the city of Newcastle. They only talk about townships. The resolution was introduced by Commissioner Floyd Cotton and voted for by Commissioners A.R. Turner and George Bollinger, and that they would allocate $50,000. Again, this goes on for about 4 more paragraphs, which I won't take your time to read. But it goes to show that for many, many decades, this is a practice that the commissioners obviously have been doing. And as we've said many times, the county does not own or maintain any streets or roads. And we do get money for the bridges that we own. And in most years, we've had the ability to distribute dollars to all of our townships and boroughs in the city, those of whom request support from us. And here in the next few minutes, we're going to be taking action for this year's distribution. To the Commonwealth's credit, they have, over the last decade, passed laws that have set up separate funds that have been earmarked specifically for bridges. And that's, of course, enabled us, since we only own bridges, to take advantage of those funds, which has given us additional money to work with to get out to our municipalities. But point I wanted to make was that this is not something new. And obviously, as far back as at least 1939, our predecessors were doing this. So Debbie, I'll give this to you.
Okay, just so everybody knows, I didn't write that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have this morning.
No, thank you. As Dan mentioned, we're going to dive into the
Yes.
liquid fuels portion of the circus. Well, as Dan noted, this is not a new practice. The current Board of Commissioners put into practice a new form of applying for this type of funding. Historically, throughout the year, municipalities would submit requests to the county for liquid fuels dollars. These requests could come in January, these requests could come in September, these requests could come in December, or any time in between, and the county would generally act on those requests as received. This year, as was decided last year, but this year, we decided to standardize that process, turn it into something more akin to a formalized grant with guidelines set out and grant timelines incorporated as to create, again, a more standardized process for these municipalities. In other words, this will be the only time this year that we allocate general use liquid fuel dollars to municipalities. If there's an issue, for example, with a bridge that a municipality owns or an emergency situation, those scenarios will be treated, of course, differently. But in terms of general purpose liquid fuels allocations, this will be the only time this year that we allocate funding for municipalities. And it is a substantial amount of funding, thankfully due to our large reserve of liquid fuel dollars. But I'll note that the process for this was a notice was sent out to all 27 municipalities at the beginning of the year, both through mail and through email, notifying them all 27 municipalities of this grant program. Municipalities had until March 15th, 2021 to submit projects to the Board of Commissioners for consideration to receive funding. Those requests were reviewed by our planning department and our county engineer, Taylor Engineering. And if those projects met the criteria set forth in the grant, which all did, the county would award up to 33% of total costs for the individual project, or $50,000 for the project, whichever was less. And so to that end, we have a number of projects across municipalities to assist with their road repair needs. This project was also open to bridges with different requirements for municipalities who wanted to submit for bridge repair requests. However, no municipality submitted for bridge repairs. This was all done. All municipalities submitted different paving projects, and each municipality had a limit of 2 projects in their municipality to submit to the board for consideration. And at all projects which were submitted to the board in a timely manner are up for consideration today. Initially, the board allocated $550,000 in funding for these projects, and we did not hit that amount, which again allows us to consider funding for all of these projects. So unless anyone's opposed, I'll list the projects, and there's one here that's not listed, which is the next resolution, and I'll explain why momentarily. But first up, Wampum Borough submitted a paving request for Main Street. The award amount for consideration by the board, $25,450.82. City of Newcastle submitted 2 requests, one for Grant Street, Sampson to North Beaver. The award amount for consideration is $50,000. And then again, Grant Street, North Beaver, North Mercer, consideration $50,000. Enid Valley Borough had some miscellaneous projects that they needed to complete, consideration for $5,000. Mahoning Township paving on East Main Street from Churchill to 3348 Main Street, consideration $20,047.50. Mahoning Township, Bard Road, Sky Hill Road to Evergreen Road on that road, $24,502.50. New Beaver Borough, Cosgrove Road, $33,003.96. New Wilmington Borough, New Wilmington submitted 2 requests, but again, the second one's on the next, and I'll explain why momentarily. South Market to College Drive on Prospect Street, $9,827.40. Neshannock submitted 2, one for Glenmore in the amount of, what the county amount would be $14,817, one for Clover, $34,132.26. North Main Street in Bessemer, $40,154.40. Wayne Township, Vinegar Valley Road, $42,900. Elport Borough submitted for Mahoney Street or Avenue, $42,108. Elport Borough Grimm Street, $4,719. North Beaver Township submitted for Moravia, $23,100. In McLean, $21,450. Pulaski Township submitted for Hillside, $16,698. Washington Township submitted for Black Road, $25,032.56. I also submitted for Foster Road, $13,942.50. And Elwood City Borough submitted for paving from 6th Street, on 6th Street from Glen to Spring in the amount of $4,046.46. That totals in county contributions, assuming all of these pass, $487,596.36 on this resolution. And we'll make this resolution, if I can find my pen.
Oh, let me see.
Right there beside the,
Oh, got a statement.
Find it.
Yep, thank you.
075.
075. We're excited that we're able to help our municipalities out like this. One of the number one things that I think all three of us here, when we're out in the community, is the need to pave more roads, repair more bridges, and fill more potholes. And while the county doesn't own roads, and our 27 bridges are 27 or 26? 27 bridges are well maintained, our municipalities often have more repair work than they have funds to perform repairs. And so to that end, again, we're happy to provide this level of assistance to our municipalities to help get more roads paved, help fill more potholes. I'll also add a stipulation in this funding is that all repair work must be completed within 2 years of this resolution. So effective today, if all these are signed off on, each municipality which receives funding will have 2 years to complete the project. If the project is not completed by the end of 2 years, funding will be returned to county coffers. But I'll turn it over to my colleagues for questions, comments, or any other statements.
I find I have no.
Just one other fact that needs to be noted is that over and above what we're doing here today, it should be pointed out that all of our municipalities each year do receive their own liquid fuel check from the Commonwealth. So we're essentially supplementing what they're getting in their own particular municipality. I believe the Commonwealth utilizes a formula that takes in the number of road miles within each particular municipality. But no, it's always a pleasure to do this when we have the funds available. And again, in some years in the past, and Debbie would remember this, we had obligations for our own bridges that precluded us. There were some years we weren't able to do this. And but lately, and again, I have to give the Commonwealth credit, since they have set up separate funds for bridges, it's enabled us more of an ability to undertake what we're doing today. This is, I think this will be very helpful to the municipalities that applied for it.
Absolutely.
Thank you both.
Absolutely, thank you. Again, we'll make that resolution 2021-075. Up next, and this is the one I can't vote on, the Wilmington Borough submitted 2 requests. Those sons of bitches are paving my street. And I just want, right? They couldn't have picked another street. But to that end, I'm going to abstain on this one. They're paving Francis Street. The proposed county contribution here is in the amount of $22,029.15. And I want to reiterate here that we had absolutely no input at all in what the municipalities selected to submit to the board. In other words, on an individual level, I didn't reach out to any council members or any other officials at the borough and ask for anything to be done on Francis Street. They just happened to submit my street. And so,
Here's my take on it. Former Commissioner Wendell Wagner used to live on that street, so we'll say it's for
Well,
Wendell
for
Wagner.
him.
How's that?
Well, actually, I did it because I have 3 other friends that live on that.
There you
there we
go.
go. But, and to avoid, even the appearance of impropriety, I am gonna vote to abstain on that one.
Yeah, and I will attest to your surprise when you saw the street on there. Oh my God.
I actually was a little bit pissed. I'm thinking, son of a bitch. They're gonna say Boyd's corrupt.
See, right. Yes, there was surprise there from you, so.
On next resolution, 2021-077. This is another liquid fuels allotment. This is what I would call a legacy request. It's a request that was received for monies allocated under the previous grant method, which again was municipalities submitted requests sporadically throughout the year, and those requests were dealt with as they were received. And this specific project in Wayne Township, where they're asking for money to be reallocated for a project on Jockey Moore Road. The amount that we allocated, they were able to spend less ultimately on the project. The original amount was allocated for, which resulted in $8,961.95 in cost savings. As has been prior practice under the former grant policy, we're proposed to be allowing that township to reappropriate those savings for use in another part of the township. That's not applicable anymore under the current grant guidelines. But again, this is what I would define as a legacy request.
My understanding is that the dollars that we had originally allocated to Wayne Township were for a bridge on Squaw Run Road. And they were actually able to secure some additional state funding that allowed this particular savings. And then, as Mr. Boyd noted, they approached us and said, would you permit us to then reallocate the close to $9,000 for Jockey Moore Road, which then led to this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Resolution 2021-77, Mr. Commissioners. Up next, Federated Library System. We're appointing John Long of North Beaver Township, representing the F.D. Campbell Memorial Library to the Lawrence County Federated Library System Board of Directors for a term expiring on June 30th, 2023. Questions, comments? Make that resolution 2021-78. And then we just have a couple of minor transfers from our public defender's office. The prices of the books fluctuate annually, and so they need an extra $60 in their subscription budget to purchase the law books necessary for the operation of that office, which is being taken out of PD contingency. MHDS is transferring $5,000 from their contingency to materials and supplies. They're spending some money over there. I don't know. Oh, I think I know what the reason was. Is this the furniture?
This is not, they had a new staff come in.
And they had a staff that get that, yeah.
And forgive me, what percentage of these dollars, if any, would be state dollars that would pay for this?
Between state and health choice dollars, it'd be 100%.
Oh,
Would
all right.
be,
That's a good number.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
MJ Giamotti, again, subscriptions, those costs fluctuate. Requesting another $87.66. That's coming from Amodi's contingency. And then the planning department, the cost of SPC membership increased by $3,080. And this is representing that increase in association. So I'll take a motion to approve administrative transfers A through D.
So moved.
Second. The motion is second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll take a motion to amend the agenda to allow for voting on resolutions 2021-75 through 2021-78.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Resolution 2021-75, now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the attached projects were submitted and have been deemed eligible for funding under the requirements of the Lawrence County Transportation Improvement Grant Program. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. A motion is second. Is there any discussion? Again, I'll say this is the first year that we've done liquid fuels allocations in this manner. This will be the manner in which liquid fuels allocations are distributed moving forward. Just a small process improvement that we've implemented. And in terms of process, I think it worked rather well this year.
Yes.
But we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 2021-076, now be it resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners, the attached project was submitted and have been deemed eligible for funding under the requirements of Lawrence County Transportation Improvement Grant. This is Francis Street. So again, I'm abstaining on this one. Thank you to the borough. Appreciate it. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Bastards. Resolution 2021-77, now therefore be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners to allow Wayne Township to use $961.95 in liquid fuels fund dollars towards a new project on Jockey Moore Road. And again, this is effectively moving savings from their Squaw Run Bridge project and reallocating those towards another project in Wayne Township. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Resolution 2021-078, now to be resolved by Lawrence County Board of Commissioners that John Long of North Beaver Township, representing the F.D. Campbell Memorial Library, is hereby appointed Lawrence County Federated Library System Board of Directors for a term expiring June 30th, 2023. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second, with a quick comment, if I may, just for procedural purposes. These positions on the Federated Library System Board, the names are presented to us by each of the three libraries. If you're wondering, well, how did Mr. Long come to be chosen? Each library has a number of positions on that federated board, including the F.D. Campbell Library. So that was given to us, I believe, through that particular library. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Did you second that?
I think I did, but to make certain, I will second.
We're good?
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. No ordinance on the table, no ordinances for introduction, no ordinances for final action. Next regular commissioners meeting will be scheduled for 10 a.m. on Tuesday, April 20th in the commissioners meeting room. Next planning commission meeting scheduled for 12 p.m. on Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. And the Elwood City Historical Society next prison board meeting is scheduled for 12 p.m. on Wednesday, April 21, 2021 in the commissioners meeting room. And we may have an election board meeting after this. I just got to go check
Okay. All right.
with Jason to make sure that at one of the election board meeting, it may have been advertised. I got to check with that, but that may or may not happen. Public comments. Seeing none. I
have one quick comment to make, if I may, but
Can I-
no, go ahead.
Well, anybody wishing to
I'm
make
sorry.
public, I just want to make sure everybody knows that that's an option for them. Anybody, who wishes to make public comment who's not here today or who is, still a little fearful coming out of their homes due to the virus or coming into the courthouse because of the virus, can still submit public comment to mboyd@lawrencecountypa.gov. subject line, put public comment, it'll be treated as such. I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
It looked like you had something to say.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, and I'll be brief and I apologize, but given the lateness of the hour, I'm gonna just simply say, the state election reform board that I serve on did meet last week, but I'm gonna withhold a report on that till next week since we're running so late. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, is there any further discussion here? No question on the motion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Lawrence County Board of Commissioners is adjourned. I'm gonna go talk to Jason,
Okay.
and then, we'll go from there in terms of election board.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if the original legal ad at the beginning of the year